Ladies and gentlemen, to get an insight of IoT solutions, Bahria University is honored to have an eminent international scholar, Dr. Kim Stansfield, among us. Dr. Kim Stansfield is currently associated with the Warwick University and is a distinguished representative of Warwick Manufacturing Group. He has over 26 years of industrial and academic experience in aerospace and automotive control systems, enterprise software and IT systems, and sustainable energy systems. So I am honored to invite Dr. Kim Stansfield to the podium for his insightful words on high-value IoT solutions. Please, sir.
Good morning, everybody. I'm really quite honoured to be invited to address you this morning. I'd really like to thank my friends from Bahria University for all the efforts they've made to get me here and hosted me so well. So I'm really pleased to be here and to be able to speak to you all this morning. So I've given a very long title, and I think underneath it there's a very simple message. So I would like to also pay gratitude to a student at Bahria University, Dr. Priya Azmat, who has helped me prepare this presentation. She's based at Warwick University at the moment as a researcher, and some of the intelligent comments that are made in this talk have come from Freya. So I would not like to take her thunder from this talk. So this morning I will really talk about the Internet of Things and the way it changes business models, but very briefly. I will talk about the design challenges, and I talk as a system engineering lecturer at Warwick University, and what are the increased challenges we get in trying to design successful Internet of Things systems. I will talk very briefly about system design frameworks, but I don't want to put you all to sleep this morning, so I will only spend 1 or 2 slides on that. I will talk about my favored subject, quality function deployment. I don't know how many of you have heard of QFD. It's been around for quite a while now, but it is a method for integrating stakeholder needs, market needs, with engineering development needs. So I will talk about that and its potential application within the IoT. And finally, I will talk about the way that artificial intelligence that is merging potentially helps us with the way we deploy design solutions in IoT, but particularly in the way it supports the use of QFD to help analyze the market, the stakeholders, and how we design the systems. Very briefly introducing myself, I've got a very varied career, studied life in the physical world, looking at materials technologies. So my first degree was metallurgy in Manchester. I worked on semiconductor materials for my master's degree in London, and also on carbon fibre composites for aerospace, sponsored by the UK Ministry of Defence, and that was down in London, so that was my PhD. But in 1990, I moved into industry and started working on flexible automation, composites manufacturing for aerospace. And this is where I learnt about some of the techniques I've been using ever since, including quality function deployment. Our company was trying to study what the Japanese automotive companies that had come into the UK market were doing to us. They were offering high-quality products at lower cost, and we'd spent a long time offering low-quality products at high cost. And we decided to stay in business, we needed to understand what was being done to us. So In the manufacturing project, I learned about these techniques, but I then moved into aerospace part of our business, working on component development and design, smart components for the V-22 tilt-rotor vertical takeoff aircraft from Boeing. From there, I moved into automotive, looking at integration of telematics into driver interfaces for self-steering cars, and eventually moved as a technology manager to work on collision avoidance systems and self-steering cars. That was at the end of the 90s. So we had prototype vehicles driving on the roads of the UK, Jaguar, which was a self-steering car in 1994. It would not be allowed today because we did not satisfy health and safety requirements that exist today. So we're able to run these vehicles on our motorway system up and down the UK. From there, in 2002, I moved into a business that had taken over our company, Northrop Grumman, into their IT division. And I started work on service-orientated architectures and eventually moving into cloud computing and secure cloud systems. I work very much as a business architect. This is taking the business needs and understanding what this means for the business solution that you're trying to design. And finally, throughout all this process, I've been using these techniques. So in 2010, I met the developer of QFD, Yoji Akau. And in 2016, just after joining Warwick University, I received the Akau Prize for the dissemination of knowledge and development of QFD and associated techniques. Thank you. So in the first two presentations, we heard about the Internet of Things. This is a snapshot from 2015, a view from Gartner in terms of some of the technologies shifting the world around, changing the way things work, and computing everywhere. The Internet of Things is right in the middle of this. 3D printing, these are all areas that Warwick University, Warwick Manufacturing Group are very active in. The development of intelligence everywhere, so the distributed intelligent systems. So in the 90s, I've been working on autonomous vehicles. And now we see that this is becoming accepted as the future technology development. The development of context-rich systems, smart machines. So I'd been working in the 90s, very early in my career, on smart structures. And now, of course, we talk about the whole smart machines and smart systems. And the new IT reality emerging. So I won't spend more time on that. I'm just echoing the previous speakers' comments about the growth in the number of connections. And at the bottom there, it shows the estimates for the growth in the IoT market to 2020 of about, I think it's $4.3 trillion as a market size. It's an estimate, a forecast. So who knows? Maybe more. Okay, so this goes back to fundamental system design teaching I do. So what we're seeing in the marketplace, the things we have to cope with when we come to design new products, new systems, new information systems, is increased customer choice and customization. We've got technology platform convergence. We've heard a lot about the need for open architectures. We've got platforms for those systems, such as the smartphones we've heard about. Good American term this, servitization. It's fantastic the way the Americans can take the language and really mangle it, but this is basically using products as the platform for services. So we've got a picture there of Virgin Train from Alstom and network signaling systems from Alstom, both of which have been the basis of their service business, maintaining and supporting those systems, typically connected through sensors and information systems that hold the whole maintenance requirements in a central accessible point. Increasingly, we have to address the need for whole life cycle affordability. So it's not just acquisition cost. So I've got a picture of a Boeing Dreamliner there. And I should say, with my early career on composite materials, great to see an aircraft, a civil aircraft, made of composites. But the beauty with it is it reduces the maintenance costs, it increases the comfort for the passengers, and it reduces the, because of the lightweight structure, it reduces the running costs. All critical, despite the very, very big price tag at the beginning. Okay, I'm going to move on to talk about web-connected product, service, and production. So I will talk briefly about Industry 4.0 and the increasing need for eco-friendliness. So this is just looking at the complexity of the information systems, and it's the pulling together of the business context, the business architecture, the information architecture as a core requirement to understand how these systems will work. This model was actually developed by guys at Gartner to describe the information requirements for service-oriented architectures. But as we see, it's just as relevant for IoT. SOA fundamentally is the technological thought process that supports the development of IoT. If we look at business models that are changing, so this is a business model canvas. It's a popular way of depicting how a business will earn its money. And if we look at the top left, for the BMW Drive Now, pilot that was run in 2012-2013 in San Francisco, this is an Internet of Things connected service, which basically means that city dwellers, rather than buying a car, can pick up a car from a local point, order it very quickly, go and pick it up, drive it wherever they want to go, drop it off, and carry on their journey. It's moving away from the need to own a car. So big issues in terms of the supply chain. So top left, we've got a partner network. And that's the kind of partner network we need to think about when we put together an Internet of Things. And if those partners cannot win, as in they cannot make a sustainable business, the Internet of Things service disappears. So it's about keeping all of these stakeholders aligned and earning money. As we heard in the first talk, the return on investment will dictate whether the IoT service offerings actually succeed. And it's interesting that the pilot that was run in San Francisco is now underpinning the business model, which is profitable for both BMW and Sixt, the car rental firm. And now you can buy these services in just about every country around Europe and the States, but not in San Francisco, because apparently there weren't enough parking spaces in San Francisco to enable this system to work. In the UK, we have the smart metering program, which is a huge IoT program. It's basically putting, it's a £12 billion program to put smart meters monitoring energy consumption in every household in the UK and every business in the UK. And it's a connection between the sensors, the metering systems, the monitoring systems, the data communication center, which is pulling together all the information and then feeding it out to the energy supplier network. I spoke about Industry 4.0, Internet of Things connectivity now. It's the next generation of industrial organization. which fundamentally means that specific manufacturing processes within businesses become agents that can now deal with trading with anybody who needs the capacity that you have in your factory space. So this is radically transforming the boundaries around a business, because now it enables the ability to access production capacity anywhere in the world. That's quite impressive. So, quick summary. If you look at Industry 4.0, it's hooked together with the Internet of Things, involves the analytics, the virtual reality, the ability to experience different environments, different solutions, different offerings, anywhere in the world. So this is an area of particular interest to me at the moment, use of virtual reality to help with education in networked universities around the world. There we go. As we heard earlier, key for the future, I believe. So all of this is creating the big data, and we also have the issue of cybersecurity coming through. So I mentioned the NASA system engineering frameworks, but just to say that the key issue is about understanding stakeholder needs for new systems, translating those through into the different levels of development of a system, from the system concepts through into the subsystems that you need to make these things work, through into the components. And depending on where you sit as business, depends on what you have to understand to be able to deliver a sustainable product or service offering. I'm going to go back now to the 60s very quickly. On the left we have Professor Shigeru Matsuno, and on the right Professor Yoji Akao. Sadly, Professor Akao died last year, but these guys were working with Edward Deming in Japan in the 60s, and they've been working very closely with him on total quality management, but they realized there was a big problem in Japan. And the problem was that the products they were designing took a long time, cost a lot of money, and didn't address customer needs. So they didn't sell well. They weren't successful products. And they decided to see whether they could extend TQM principles into design, make it work as a quality process. So they came up with something called quality function deployment. And this basically takes the voice of the business, the voice of the customer, and the voice of the stakeholders, translates it through a series of matrices into design targets for both the product, for the manufacturing, for the support, for the end-of-life phase of the program. And they use this matrix system to identify what is the important thing for each department in the supply chain to understand, to deliver quality to the customer. So this is about bringing the thinking into design before you have product, but thinking through all cycle stages for the whole production, development, delivery. So why has QFD come to the West's attention? Well, Toyota, in desperation, they made a lot of progress on TQM. This is a picture of the Toyota Corolla from '77, renowned for its lack of reliability. Despite the high-quality manufacturing, it was not reliable. It was prone to rust and prone to breaking down because some of the materials and processes selected at the design layer weren't appropriate for long term. So they, in desperation, trying to get out from Japan into the West, and sadly they succeeded, applied QFD, and they knocked 61% out of their development time and 33% out of development costs. Sorry, got it wrong around. 61% out of development cost, 33% out of development time. And this was by focusing on customer needs and stakeholder needs. and translating it systematically through their business. So over a 7-year period, they achieved this. This was briefed to American automotive industry in the 80s by Yoji Ikao, and the American automotive industry came up with a simplified form of QFD, the 4-phase model. Anybody who's been taught Design for Six Sigma will have been taught this model. I was back in 1990. This is what I was told Japan was doing. So I've been applying this ever since to everywhere I worked. This has been developed for agile software development teams who are looking to develop software very quickly, but needed to understand what was important to the customer and the business. So Richard Zoltner, a friend of mine in the States, developed Blitz QFD in 95. And this basically reduced the number of matrices, increased the amount of tables that connect customer needs with solution requirements. And this means it can be done very rapidly. And he also introduced AHP, Analytical Hierarchy Process, to improve the prioritization process. This is all about understanding where to focus your effort. So if you're developing an IoT product, if you spend your time chasing every aspect, you will never succeed. So this is, how do I focus on the things that are important to customers and to stakeholders? So this is a form of the QFD matrix, but using Blitz QFD thinking. This whole approach, I've spent the last 6-7 years working on the standard for QFD that was released in 2016, the first phase of it, and a big chunk of it has been released very recently. But this brings together all the best practices of QFD. And this is just a chart showing how I believe you should break it down for use with IoT systems. System level, subsystem level QFD, and then component level. Very much following the V model, systems engineering. So I get onto the piece that Freya Asmat has helped me most with, because she's the intelligent girl in this duo. And so she's helped me identify which areas of artificial intelligence help you analyze customer needs, response to products, and helps you cut through the big data cloud. So one area, neural networks, which came out of the artificial intelligence arena, helps model information and the way you process information based on a simple model of the brain and the neuron. And for me, this helps analyze response in the marketplace to engineering functions and capabilities that have been promoted. Sometimes they are successful responses, sometimes they're bad responses. The human interaction piece that my friend spoke about earlier. We need to understand that when we're designing systems, because otherwise we will repeat the mistakes other people have made. There's an alternative version of neural networks called hierarchical temporal memory. It's a more sophisticated representation of how neurons in the brain work. And again, this provides a systematic way of breaking down what's happening with the big data and what's the information I can extract. Coupled with this, another artificial intelligence technology, reinforcement learning. And this is the process that allows machines to start to learn from their mistakes, unlike humans who obviously never make mistakes. So, the final piece I'm going to talk about very briefly. In 2011, IBM applied their greatest thinkers on intelligent machines and they developed their Watson system. And their goal was to win the quiz show Jeopardy! And the system that they used combined neural networks. It included reinforcement learning, but it also brought in a lot of development on natural language understanding, which was necessary to play Jeopardy! Because they competed against human competitors. And in 2011, the system won Jeopardy! Because it learnt from its mistakes. And if you watch the videos, it's very funny seeing some of the early mistakes it made, because it didn't understand the context or the nuance of the language that was being used in the way the questions are set. But eventually it learnt from its mistakes. So I'm proposing, and this is an area I'm starting to develop with people at IBM, so back in the UK, is that we use this Watson-type capability. Google have DeepMind, which does some similar things to Watson, to analyze information coming out of social media, out of R&D papers, out of the Internet of Things itself, to analyze how we better design the Internet of Things service offerings. And interestingly for me, the development of Watson recently has been to include medical diagnostics. So use in things like oncology to study and bring together more effective diagnoses for medical conditions. My son now works for a company, Babylon Health, in the UK, developing Doctor in Your Pocket. So it's a mobile phone supported, artificial intelligence driven doctor system. So doctors beware, your job is under threat. So finally, bringing this all together, so I believe that the QFD approach is a good way of structuring and analysing, deploying requirements, needs, down through system engineering frameworks to help with improved design of systems. And I believe that artificial intelligence can help us in the way we use these techniques to speed up the way we develop future Internet of Things products that will properly serve people rather than being diversions of time and thinking. So that's just summarised on that last chart. And as I say, the sad thing for me was that I received my award, the Akau Prize in 2016, and very shortly after, Yoji Akau passed away. I don't believe it was because he was shocked by me being awarded. I don't think so. I don't think he realised. So anyway, that's it. Thank you, everybody. I don't know if we have time for questions or... Yeah. Anybody wants to come and ask me a question? So if it's a difficult one, I'll contact Freya. But if it's an easy one, I'll answer it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kim Stansfield, for the remarkable keynote on high-value IoT solutions.